A Bible, I'm going to go to 3 or 4 places. I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 54, read a couple of verses. I'm going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 18, and then I'm going to go to John chapter 15. So if you've got a Bible, I'm going to go to all 3 of those places. I'm going to read 2 or 3 things. I'm going to stay right on the topic of covenant. I believe that covenant is the language of the kingdom. It's the foundation of our faith. If you don't understand the language of the kingdom, you can't participate in it. I think covenant is the greatest foundation of the Christian faith. And yet I know many people that have got covenants confused with contracts. Contracts have to do with conditions. Covenants have to do with God swearing a promise. Contracts can be broken. Covenants cannot be broken. And God keeps His covenant. And so I believe that the church gets all confused about a contractual agreement versus a covenantal agreement. That's why many people end up in 3 or 4 marriages, is because they made a contract, and if she didn't do this or he didn't do that, they just break the contract and move on. Covenants have to do with forever, eternal. They have to do with me being who I am, not with somebody else doing that. So I'm going to stay right in this vein. I'm going to stay in it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'm going to move on to what I think is the next truth, and I think you'll begin to see it. Isaiah 54, verse 10. Anybody excited in here? Now, I got to tell you, you were way too quiet last week. I almost had an inferiority complex because you were so quiet. Almost. Isaiah 54:10. For though the mountains be removed and the hills shake, my loving kindness will not be removed from you. Say it out loud. Doesn't matter what happens. He will always be kind to me. It doesn't matter what happens in the world. It doesn't matter who is, who isn't. Doesn't matter what comes or what goes. Doesn't matter how bad the news is. You know, I think they sit up all day trying to come up with the worst news they can come up with so that you'll worry till about 10 o'clock. I think that, have you noticed? I think that, you know, now you can get bad news on your phone 24 hours a day. It is the most phenomenal thing. They will dump toxins into your life 24 hours a day. You can check the latest hoax that's coming just by thumbing through here. You can check the latest lie. You can check the latest thing to scare you to death. You can find out what tick's doing what. You can find out what bumblebee is stinging who. You can find out when the world's coming to an end, all by going wing, wing, wing. You can feed your fear 24/7. And most people I know are feeding their fear and not their faith because they're looking for another set of bad news. It's interesting to me how many people will search for bad news and never read good news. I can listen to my Bible on this thing. All I got to do is go bam, and it's just feeding me good news. And I see people all the time, You don't have to order newspapers to feel depressed. All you got to do is pick up your phone. Say with me, though the mountains be removed, His loyalty to me, His kindness to me, His goodness to me, His mercy to me will never, say never. That means there's nothing you can do that'll change Him. You can't screw up bad enough that He'd hide from you. You can't make a mistake that He won't turn around. There is nothing that'd make Him quit you. He'll never divorce you. Ever. Wow. Wow. Some of you are testing it, but I'm just saying. And my covenant of peace will not be shaken. 1 Samuel 18. Now, when he finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would not let him go home to his father's house anymore. Listen, the reason Saul wouldn't let David go home is he knew it had changed. The day that Jonathan's soul was knit to David, Saul knew something's changed. You see, anytime you get 2 people that love one another, it changes everything. 2 people that will love each other can alter the kingdom of God. 2 people that allow their souls to become one. 2 people that will enter into a covenant with one another can shake the kingdoms of this world. Jonathan and David loved one another, made covenant with one another, and the sitting king said, oh my God, something's shifted. He couldn't let David go home because Saul knew Jonathan had just abdicated the throne to a shepherd boy. David had a son named Jonathan whom he was grooming to take over his kingdom, and Jonathan gave it away. And the sitting king went, oh my God, I better keep this boy right here to see if he's for me or against me. Did you know whom you choose to love, whom you choose to be friends with, can alter the world? Who we love, he said, by this the world will know you're my disciples, that you have who we do that, this covenant. Then Jonathan and David made covenant because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan took off the robe that was on him and gave it to David and his armor, even to his sword, his bow, and his belt. Everything that I've got, what makes me king, I give to you. My clothing, my belt, my shoes, everything I have, I give to you. Not only do I make covenant to you, this isn't some mamby-pamby little thing. This is, not only do I love you and I make covenant with you, but everything I got. Say, everything he's got. Jesus gave you everything he's got. If he has it, now you got it. If he could do it, now you could do it. If he could walk on it, you can walk on it. If he could call it down, you can call it down. If he could speak it, you can speak it. Everything he had, he gave to you. Somebody here, I'd go, thank you. I didn't know what I had. Do you know, most Christians I know don't even know what they got. They don't believe it because some religion somewhere told them, well, he didn't really mean it. I wonder what would happen if people just believed he meant what he said. 2 Samuel 9, 1 verse, and David said, is there anyone yet left of the house of Saul that I may show kindness to? John 15, verse 12, Jesus is speaking. He said, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Say it, you're commanded to love one another as I have loved you. If I've given everything to you, I want you to give everything to one another. If we're all in this room giving everything we got to one another, I wonder how many people in here be poor. Oh, well. Greater love hath no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. Say, his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know. Does not know. Say, doesn't know. Say, they just don't know. They don't know. They don't know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends. Say, friends, friends. I've called you friends. For all things I heard from my Father I've made known to you. Said, made known. Made known. Said, I know. Say it out loud. I know. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that the fruit you have would remain, and that whatever you ask, say whatever. Say whatever. Whatever you ask. Whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give to you. See, I want to talk to you continually about how covenants bind together. Covenants make one. Covenants are unconditional, unilaterally in agreement between two parties, and that nothing is required of this party because this party says, even if you mess up, I will finish it. That no matter how far you fail, I will take care of it. That even if you mess up, I'll come down there and keep your side of it and give you the whole reward anyway. That this thing cannot be broken unless I change who I am, and I'm never going to change who I am. So no matter how far you fall, that's how low I'll go. It doesn't matter because this is based on me and not on you. See, contracts are based on both parties. Covenants are based on one. He swore by himself because he could swear by none greater. So to understand that we in American religion today have it all messed up. That's why that little litany I wrote and I read to you last week says covenants deal with contingencies, or contracts deal with contingencies, covenants disregard them. Contracts protect rights, covenants protect the oath. Contracts spell out conditions, covenants the promises. Contracts are written, covenants are affirming trust. Contracts protect myself, covenants protect others. Contracts work out compromises, covenants are offers of promise. To understand the difference between contractual agreements and covenantal agreements. Contract agreement says, if this, then that. If you don't, I'll divorce you. Covenants say, no matter what you do, I will be this. God has entered into covenant with us. The whole Bible has to do with covenant. Psalm 15 says he swears to his own hurt and he never changes. Covenants have to do with two basic things. Number one, whatever covenant promise we make to one another, it doesn't end with you. It goes to my children. It's transgenerational. That whatever takes place between you and I now honor to your descendants and to their descendants, and it goes on for perpetuity. It goes on for eternity. That just because if I die young, I want you to know you got to treat my sons and daughters the way you would treat me. See, that means that you and I are living in the promises that people made before we were ever born. I know I'm living today in the promises that my grandparents were promised. I know that I'm living in the benefits of a promise that took place in the Godhead before the world ever began, between the Father and the Son. Before the foundation of the world, the Father and the Son said, we make a covenant commitment that every human being after this will be treated like the Son of God, because the Son of God will die to make sure of it. That this thing didn't start without a plan. And that we live on the basis of that. That's why religion about keeping rules, if this then that, is a lie. That's why all of that has got the world confused, because that's not the truth. The truth is God promised himself never to leave, never to forsake you. It's not based on a contract. It's based on who he is. It's the language of the kingdom. Because of covenants, we have these words like friendship, remembrance, mercy, grace, loyalty, commitment, loving kindness. See, covenants require an entirely different language to convey the reality which they are revealing to our lives. It's so interesting. This entire Bible is made up of a covenant of creation. God made substance. He created the substance. He created the earth. He said the earth will produce, and he made and then he had Adam, and he promised Adam, and he said, Adam, even though you've messed up, I'll send another one, and that other one will bring you back. And then there was Noah, and Noah was saved, he and his family, out from under the flood. You remember the story of Noah's ark, and this family was saved, and he rose above the waters. Now put this in your pipe and smoke it after you leave, but put this in your pipe. The covenant he made with Noah was, I'll never do that again. The covenant he made with Noah was, I'll never be angry with you because you were sinners again. I'll never be angry with you. I'll never be mad with you again. I will never destroy the earth again. So all of you apocalyptic people that are reading the stuff on the dark net about how God's about to destroy the earth because he's mad at people sinning, that's not true. If that's true, then God lied to Noah. If he lied to Noah, he could have lied to other people. You're listening to lies. God said, I'll never destroy the earth again. He's going to make it new, but he doesn't have to destroy it to make it new. Are you listening to me? So he made Noah that promise. And then he promised Abraham. He said, to you and to your descendants, you're going to have a child. And I'm going to promise to your descendants this thing. And it's all about substitute, because Abraham was willing to give his son. God is willing to give his son. So by the basis of substitute and the payment of the sin, now then, instead of destroying the earth like he did with Noah, he will shed the blood of a son that will redeem us all. Are you listening to me? So that covenant is a journey. This covenant of creation, this covenant of Adam, I'm coming for you, this covenant of I'll never destroy you again. In fact, I'll die as a substitute for you. So the covenant is growing. The understanding of covenant is taking you somewhere. Where people get messed up in Christian theology is they just think God's still working this way. Listen, this is a journey. You have to come on the journey of creation, of separation, of destruction and survival, of substitution. Are you here? Of separation. Now then, God takes Moses, goes into Egypt and pulls them out and separates his people from Pharaoh, brings them out. And now he comes to David and he says, I need a king who is a servant. So you have this journey of covenant in the Bible, and all of it is leading down to a Savior who would fulfill all of that. Where people get in trouble is they don't understand the whole journey. They don't understand how God revealed himself in this way, and that it gets better and better and better and better and better until you get over in this little book called Hebrews. He goes, man, this is a better covenant based on better promises, and it's the fulfillment of all of that. And what happens is you get people that don't understand systematic theology, and they go back and they pick up this, and pick up this, and they pick up this, and they pick up this, and they apply it over here, and they apply it over here, and they apply it over here, and they're just really ignorant. Because you have to understand how God reveals himself systematically, and all that shadow and types, till you get over here to where Jesus dies on a cross. And now we're all grafted in, and we're one again. And everything that's his, we're clothed with. Wow. Are you there? And that Jonathan and David is a picture of that, is a picture, a foretelling, a shadow, a type. And that after Jonathan would die, David would go get Jonathan's son and treat him like, Are you here? It's this wonderful story of covenant that's revealed down through this history of this thing called the Bible, and that David and Jonathan understood it. And that's why David would write, "My covenant I will not break, nor alter the word that's gone out of my lips." Say with me, God cannot change his promise. If he promised never to destroy, if he promised to substitute, if he promised to have a king that would provide, then he is. He's not changing his covenant just because you feel this way. He's not changing his covenant just because you have a condition. He's not changing his covenant just because you don't like it. His covenant and the redemptive plan of it is going to be just exactly what he says. See, Jonathan David understood a little story that comes out of Joshua chapter 9 about the Gibeonites. Joshua, the heir apparent to Moses. Moses delivers them. Joshua takes them into the promised land. Here's Joshua, fought the battle of Jericho, had the mess up at Ai. Joshua is headed to kill the Amorites, the Hittites, the Canaanites, the Jebusites. He's going to get rid of the ites. He's killing bugs. He's better than garlic. He's going after the bugs. And he's going after the bugs. And the Gibeonites go, "Oh my God, he's going to kill all of us. He's going to take over everything." So the Gibeonites put on their raggedy old clothes, get their stale bread out of the dump, put it in the back of the station wagon, and they drive over to where David is. And they come hobbling in, and they go, "Oh my God, David, you're coming to deliver us because those people that you're going to kill, they're against us. Make covenant with us, and we'll be under the safety of you, Joshua." And Joshua says, "Okay, I'll make covenant with you." So they made covenant. It took them 3 days. That's a whole other story. And the Gibeonites go home to put back on their clothes to get out their good bread, and they sit there. Joshua comes over the hill with the army getting ready to kill the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Jebusites, and all the other ites. And here sit the Gibeonites. And he went, "Oh, you deceived me. You lied to me. But I made covenant with you." And guess what? He honored the covenant. Have you ever gotten in a relationship with somebody that lied to you? You got in relationship with them, but you made covenant. And you couldn't change a word. You had, because it's not about whether or not they lied or whether or not they're good. It had to do with you promised. See, Jonathan David understood that God did everything by promise. And that if Jonathan promised David and David promised Jonathan, that it didn't matter what happened, it was on the basis of that promise, because that's God. You promised. I wonder what would happen in 2017 if we begin to keep our word. I wonder what would happen today is if we understood that God keeps his word to us, and we're God people, and we're supposed to be and to do whatever it takes to reveal the love and the life of Christ. Now listen, we could change the world. Two of us that would choose to love one another unrestrictedly could change the world because of the covenant that God would put into effect on the basis of their promise of love. See, this is the way God makes himself known. It's the integrity of himself. See, Jonathan and David became friends. You see, covenant produces friends. Before there's a covenant, there's no friendship. No covenant, no friendship. You can have acquaintances. You can go out to dinner. But covenant friendship, if there's covenant based on no matter what you do, I'll stay true. If there's covenant, then there's this thing called friendship. You can't have friends without covenant. And covenant requires a swearing unto one another in the face of God. Listen, the greatest thing necessary in America today is true friends. A person who knows you well and still likes you. Someone that you're intimate and close to. A person who's on the same side of a struggle. One who is not an enemy, but a supporter, a sympathizer. Chesterton said the only two things that can satisfy a soul are a person and a story, and you can't have a story without a person. Throughout the history of the Scriptures, God calls Abraham his friend. This is my friend, Abraham. James in the New Testament says, Abraham, the friend of God. Isaiah says we're descendants of Abraham, the friend of God. All the way through the Bible, everybody goes, Abraham was God's friend. It says that Moses sat face to face with God like a friend to another friend. The Bible says there is a friend that loves at all times. Man, a friend is somebody that knows you messed up but still loves you. A friend is somebody that knows your story and still, it wasn't the first time you messed up. Maybe it's the 40th time you messed up. They still stand there and say, I love you, I forgive you, I'm for you, not against you, I will never leave you. A friend is somebody you can call when nobody else wants to talk to you and they show up. A friend is somebody that doesn't pull their hat down when they walk out of the restaurant with you. A friend is somebody that holds their head up high and say, I am pleased to be their friend. A friend is somebody that when they're challenged say, oh no, we're not friends, we're good friends. Well, yeah, but did you know? And I said, yeah, I knew that, but I don't care. See, friends are somebody that you can't tell me anything about that would change the way I would relate to them. You can tell me all the dirty laundry you want to tell me. I don't know whether you're lying or not, but it wouldn't matter if it was true. I'm still a friend. A friend loves at all times. Wouldn't you like to go to church with somebody that would just love you all the time, even though you were stinky and fell off the bar stool last night and we barely drug your fanny in here? You're still loved. I got news for you. The American church wants rules. Listen, if you drive drinking, we're going to put you in jail. We're going to put you in jail, but we're going to be your friend. See, rules will mean that you could live a little better down here. If you don't do certain things, your life down here will be better. But if you screw your life up down here, he's still a friend that sticketh closest to a brother, and he'll stay with you no matter where you're at. It has nothing to do with eternity. It might have to do with how well you get to live while you're stuck down here, but it has nothing to do with your final destination. You can't change that if he's your friend. Now you sound like a Baptist. He didn't call me a Baptist. He didn't call me a Methodist. He didn't call me a sinner. He called me a friend. You've been giving labels to people, and he never once used them. He didn't call them sinners. He didn't call them Baptists or Methodists or Pentecostals. He didn't call them nothing. He just said, they're my friend. Look at somebody and say, I have a friend. You better be, I have a friend, man. I got a friend that loves me at all times. I have a friend that's better than a brother. I love it. Matthew 22, about verse 42, Jesus is listening to the Pharisees argue about stuff, and he looks up and he goes, hey, what do you think about the Christ? I think it's a great question. He asked his disciples, who do you say that I am? He asked the Pharisees, what do you think about the Christ? He didn't say, I am the Christ. He just said, what do you think about the Christ? Well, if I ask you, what do you think about Jesus? What do you think? When you think about Christ, what do you think? Well, I think a Savior, Redeemer, Healer, Baptizer. I think friend. When I think of Jesus, I think of a friend. He called me friend. When I think of Jesus, I think of a friendship. I think of someone that never leaves. When I think of Jesus, he said, I have called you friends because I chose you. Man, do you understand? He chose me. Nobody in Severy wanted me on the kickball team, but Jesus chose me to sit at a table. Nobody wanted me to play baseball with him, but Jesus wants me to run the kingdom. Are you listening to me? This reject, this kid that had no talent, no ability, nobody was chosen by God to stand in front of Pope Francis. Go figure. To travel to do this. I don't understand it either, other than he chooses the foolish things to confound the wise. He chooses the outcast and the nobodies. Why? Because it elevates him, not you. Because if he can use a mule, it means he's something, not the mule. Right? So he chooses us and he calls us friends. And in fact, I love what the Pharisee said. He's friends with sinners. Man, sinners need friends. I get tickled with Christian, churchy people. They get upset if you're a friend with a sinner. And I'm thinking, well, Jesus was friend with sinners. How are you ever going to get a sinner to be a saint if you don't become a friend with a sinner? The only way you're going to do evangelism if you become a friend with a sinner. If you really want to do an evangelistic crusade, become friends with sinners. Christians argue with you about what you got to do to be saved. Sinners just want to know if they can be. It's amazing. I've never had a theological debate with a sinner. Not really. They just don't want to go to hell. If I share with them how they don't have to go to hell and don't have to be sick no more, they come to Jesus. Christians are still arguing with me about what they have to suffer. Oh my God, don't go there, Quentin. I mean, he said, hey, we got to go down there because our friend Lazarus is asleep. I read that the first time I read that. I went, Jesus, you lied. Lazarus isn't asleep. He's dead. You told them Lazarus was asleep. He'd been dead 4 days. His body had begun to stink. And Jesus goes, our friend Lazarus is asleep. This is what dawns on me. If Jesus is your friend, you're asleep. The world says you're dead, but if Jesus is your friend, he knows he can turn around that death. So if he can turn around that death, he knows you're just sleeping. Oh, well, some of you are, again. I was raised in Severy. We didn't have, never mind. Never mind. Psalm chapter 25, I can remember, you ought to flip over there because it's going to be fun. Psalm 25, about verse 12, 3 verses in here. Ann and I were laying in this house that the wind blew through it. We were laying in this house and the wind would blow from the south and the curtains would stand out this way and the curtains on the north side of the house were plastered to the wall. We'd go out and the kids would stand there and go, look at those curtains. I couldn't put enough. I went and bought DAP and put around the windows. I couldn't stop the wind. It wasn't coming through the windows, it's coming through the walls. When you got wind coming through the walls, you got trouble. I mean, you can seal a window, but how do you seal a wall? I mean, and we're laying in bed one Sunday night after we'd had a hoedown of a service. We'd walked across the yard. We're laying in this little shotgun bed, got this little TV in there, and a guy by the name of John Jimenez came on the television. John Jimenez had a church up in the north part of the country, a rock church. It was rocking, too. I love John. And he's reading out of the Living Bible. And at that time, the tribe I was involved in, if you read the Living Bible, you didn't know Jesus. Because the only real Bible, the Bible that Paul carried, was the King James. And if you didn't preach out of King James, you were... And he opened up the Living Bible to Psalm 25, verse 12. And he said, where is the man that reverences or fears the Lord? God will teach him how to choose the best. I don't know about you, but at 28 years old, I needed somebody to teach me what to choose. He shall live in God's circle of blessing. How many of you like to live in the circle? I want to be in the circle. I've never been in the circle, but I like to be in the circle of the blessing of God. He said, if you'll reverence me, I'll teach you how to choose the best, and you live in the circle of blessing, and his children will inherit the earth. Now, I was getting excited. How can I learn to choose what's best, live in the circle of blessing, and guarantee the inheritance for my children? Verse 14. Friendship is reserved for those who reverence, worship him. With them alone, he shares the secrets of his promises. I got to tell you, from right there, that was 1987. It's January of 1987. I realized I want to know the secrets. If there are secrets of the promises of God, I want to know them. I figure that if you got the secrets to the combination, you can get into the stuff. The secret is covenant. The secret is friendship. If you want to know how God is moving to reveal himself and make himself known to you, you've got to be willing to move into this thing called a friendship. I have called you friends because I have made known to you. See, there are so many things that are going on. And he said in John 15, he said, I spoke this to you so that you could have joy. Do you know that joy is the results of knowing you're a friend of God? If you know you're God's friends and he's going to make secrets known to you, you can go ahead and have, I'm going to preach on this, joy up. I want to look at Christians and say, could you joy up just a bit? I mean, if you know you're God's friend, did you know you're facing this, this, and this, and this? Yes, I am, but God's my friend. Yes, that's going on. Yes, there's these conditions. Yes, oh my God, but I'm God's friend. You may not be God's friend, but I'm God's friend. And if I'm God's friend, then he loves me at all times. He sticks closer than a brother. He'll never leave me. I think I could just joy up, not because I'm so smart, but because I have God as a friend. And if I have joy, I am strong, because the joy of the Lord is my... So I have a friend. Therefore, I have joy. Therefore, I have this strength. See, when I think about Jesus, I think about having this friend. It dawned on me several years ago, everything in my life is the results of a friend. Everything. Everything. The wife I have is the result of a friend. I had a friend. She had a friend. And that friend introduced us. I have a wife today because we had a friend. And because we had a mutual friend, I have a wife. I have a ministry today because I had a friend. I had this friend named Dale. And Dale had this father named Lloyd. And he was my Jonathan. And because of Lloyd and Dale, I have a friend named Jerry. And because of, I'm going to back up. I have a friend named Pete. And because of Pete, I even know. I have a friend named Jerry. I travel the world with Brother Jerry. Every once in a while, somebody say, aren't you the guy? And I say, yeah, I'm that guy. How'd you do that? I said, he liked me. I have a friend. That's it. There was no other reason. Jerry just liked me. He showed up at our little church over on 10th Street. We packed about 900 people in it. My God, we were parking in people's yards. And Jerry went, man, this is cool. Us friends, I've been friends. Listen, I sat on a platform a few weeks ago beside a guy that's kind of important, and I sat there, and it dawned on me the only reason I'm here is because I knew a guy named Tony, and he was my friend, and then Tony had a friend, his name was Francis, and I'm here because I had a friend named Tony, and he had a friend named Francis. Now Francis and I are friends only because I had a friend. I am where I'm at. I'll be 59 years old tomorrow. Everything in my life is because of a friend. If you don't have friends, don't expect to receive anything. I have had people walk in and out of this building for 30 years, and they go, no one spoke to me. No one shook my hand. It's just not a friendly place. And I will go, no, you're unfriendly. You're unfriendly. You're waiting for everybody else to reach out to you. You've never called anybody first in your life. You've never spoke to anybody. You came in here wanting to be offended because the last church you're in offended you, so every church must be offended you, and you need to get over it. You need to get bitterness out of your life. You're prejudiced. You need to get saved. See, a number of years ago, I began to realize everything in my life is the results of friendship. But friendship cannot be realized if you're not willing to enter into a covenant. If you're not willing to enter into a covenant which is based on even if you don't live up to my expectations, I'm going to remain your friend. I watch people up here. I'm surrounded by people that are now in their 30s, and I watch them create covenant when they were 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, and those friendships are still there. And their lives are blessed because of that friendship. Hear me. Christianity is not based on if this, then that. It's based on I love you. Can you now live in friendship with me and with others? It's the most important foundation of Christianity. Friendship is not an option in our faith. It is essential. It is esse. If you don't live in friendship, God can't bless you. If you're not friendly, you can't receive. If you're standoffish, it won't happen. St. Gregory made this statement. He said, if I were to be asked what's the best thing in life, I'd answer, friends. Listen to me carefully. Your kids will grow up and leave home. They will grow up and they will leave home. And your parents will die. And then right now, your grandkids are going to forget you. I got news for you. Right now, I am everybody's play toy. But I figure I got about 6-7 years on this. Because the oldest are 7 or 8. I figure at 15 or 16, when they start dating, Papa will just be old. That's what I figured. Bruce, I just figure that my kids are going to leave home, my parents are going to die, and my grandkids are going to turn around and go, you're old. At 59, I've realized the most important thing in my life are friends. If you're not friends with your spouse, I am praying for you. Just saying. But you know, there's some things I don't tell Annie. Because she don't want to hear it. She lived it. She don't want to hear it. So I have to have friends. Oh, you're not. Friends become the most important thing in your life the older you get. I mean, when you die and no friends show up, yeah, I love it. I have old people tell me, go, all of my friends are dead. And I want to say, you could make more. The only reason they were your friends is because they kept their promise. You just don't go make any more. I get tickled with my mother-in-law. She's 90, almost 91. And for 20 years, she's told me, I got to get younger friends. When she was 80, all of her friends were like in their late 60s. She said, I got to get younger friends. Some of you need younger friends. The only thing they're thinking about is dying. If you get around friends and all they're thinking about is the end of the world, change friends. Never mind. That was smart aleck. But you know what? Friends are who you think about when you see something pretty. When I see something that's way cool, I'm thinking, I got to send that to them. If I see a motorcycle, I got to send it to Dale. If I see it, friends are who you think about when you see something you want to share. Friends are who you think about when you're suffering, because they'll help you. Friends, let me tell you who friends are. Friends are the people that help you become a person. Do you know you'll never find out who you are without a friend? I get tickled with all these people who think they're going to discover, oh, Pete, help me. Pete, clean it up this week, Pete. You will never find your identity unless you have a friend. Because it is friends that reveal to you who you really are. When you are loved, you are a person. If you never love and love others, you're never going to know who you are. It is in relationship that you truly discover who you are and what God's called you to do. Real identity is based in Jesus is my friend. And because Jesus is my friend, I'm going to be your friend. See, I'm moved into the realities of who I am because I have a friend. And I love Jonathan David because David stands at Jonathan's grave and go, oh, how the mighty warrior has fallen. My love for Jonathan is more wonderful than that of a woman. What's he saying? There is something beyond sexuality. Let me tell America something. You are being stumped because of sexuality. And there is something greater than sexuality. There is a relationship that has nothing to do with sex that is sweeter than any 7 minutes you'll ever have. Best advice my dad ever gave me is, son, don't screw up your life for 7 minutes. Are you listening to me? The love that happened between David and Jonathan had nothing to do with lust. It had to do, I get more joy out of giving love to you than ever receiving anything. Oh, I can't believe he said that. Well, somebody needs to say it. I realized a long time ago, I used to make these statements. When I get old, I'm going to tell them that. When I get old, I'm not going to care what they think, and I'm just going to be honest and just tell them what I think. I woke up a few months ago, and the Lord said, okay, you're old. Would you go ahead and be honest? So if not now, I don't know. That was funny. It wasn't funny when he first said it. David woke up and said, man, Jonathan's gone. He's the greatest thing, greatest relationship I've ever had. What do I do with this love? What do I do with this that I've got? Jesus has loved me. What do I do with this? Well, there's a cripple down in Lodabar. There's a cripple in hiding because he's been lied to. Go down and get him. Can you imagine how Mephibosheth was huddled in the back of the station wagon, scared to death about going to the capital, to the palace, scared to it, because see, covenant will come to where you are. Covenant will come to here and take you to there. But if you don't know that God loves you in a covenant way, you'll be scared to death all the way on the journey to over here. You know how many people I know that are being carried into the eternal palace with God, but they're huddled in the back seat of a station wagon, scared to death of the end? When the truth of the matter is, if you know the covenant, you can be celebrating the journey from here to there. Covenant will take you out of Egypt into the promised land. Covenant will take you out of death into life, out of blindness into sight. Covenant will take you out of sorrow into joy. But honey, you're going to have to wake up and realize God has come to take you from here to there. If you ever figure that out, then it's not on the basis of what you do, what he did, what she said, what they did, whether you're Baptist, Pentecostal, Methodist, Episcopalian, where you stand on one foot and talk in tongues underwater. It doesn't matter. It matters that he who made a covenant has come for you, and he's taking you from here Say, look at somebody and say, I'm going from here to there. I'm moving, not because of me, but because God has remembered His covenant. Anybody in this room? Man, don't you want to go from here? Aren't you tired of living in fear? You've been casting out, listen, you need to go listen to Pete. You've been casting out demons and you're a Christian. That's stupid. I won't even be as humble as he is. You can't cast demons out of a Christian because Christians don't have demons. I won't even placate that. Just put me on film, Pete. Mm-hmm. It's not a demon you got, it's lust. You get your flesh under control. I get tickled when people go, well, the spirits made me do it. Oh, listen, Flip Wilson. The devil didn't make you do it. You wanted to do it. Own it. Say with me, I'm moving from here to there. Do you know from here to there is not very far? Do you know you can step over? If you consider it, the Red Sea is not very big. I've been to the Jordan. It ain't that wide. Not at some places. I mean, if I'm going to cross a river, I'm going to go to the narrowest part. I get tickled. They go, well, no, when it was them days, it was 3 miles wide. How do you know, brain? Listen, if I got to leave 3 million people across the Jordan, I'm going to the shallow part. Right? It really isn't that far from here to there. That far from unsaved to saved. It really isn't that far. It's like this, and you're in. I mean, it really isn't that far. It's like, Jesus, forgive me, and you just move from here to there. I mean, you want to be healed? It's like, oh, heal me. Here to there. Bam. I want to move out of sorrow to joy. Really. It's from here to there. You see, Mephibosheth had to change his mind that day. Mephibosheth had to change the way he thought about David. Mephibosheth had to change the way he thought about his father. Mephibosheth had to change the way he thought about God and about others. He had to go, my God, I'm sitting at a table. I'm a crippled boy. I've been living down there for 25 years and I didn't have to. I was scared to death on the ride up here and it was the best ride of my life. I wonder how many good rides you've missed because you didn't know anything about God. You're shaking in the back seat of a car and you need to sit up because it's being chauffeured by Jesus. You were hiding in the floorboard and Jesus is driving the limousine and you're afraid to death. Am I making any sense here? Say, change your mind. I mean, Mephibosheth had a condition. He was crippled. He couldn't walk. He had a condition. My grandmother, bless her heart, Grandma Jessie had about a 4th grade education. Grandma Jessie she wrote the way she talked. I got letters. I'd just read them to you. Grandma Jessie would go to church and would be headed out of church, and I'd think, and Grandma would go, they got a condition. Just keep walking. They got a condition. There are a lot of people I know that got conditions. But did you know that if you take Mephibosheth's condition and you move Mephibosheth from here to there, all of a sudden his condition is under the table. It's hidden by the tablecloth. Because it isn't about your condition. Some of you are praying for God to change your condition. God ain't going to change your condition. He's going to put you in a different position. And if He gets you in the right position, your condition won't make any difference because nobody can see your condition because you're seated at the table. Oh, my God. Quit praying about your condition. Just ask to be repositioned. And reposition has everything to do with your mindset. Now, listen. They were standing there ready to go to the promised land going, we slaves, we slaves, we slaves, we slaves. And they died in the desert. I mean, Mephibosheth could have stayed in his room all day and died of starvation, but he just got out every day and said, carry me back to the table. It's better than walking. Just carry me back there. Just put me under that table. And I sit at that table. I got Absalom on this side, Solomon on that side, Tiara on that side. I'm sitting at a table where the sons and the daughters of David are sitting, and I get twice as much as they get because you just get David's portion. I get David's portion, Jonathan's portion, Saul's portion, because I get treated better than any of you all because he chose me. I can't handle that charismatic preaching. You gotta be kidding me. That has nothing. That was before they ever invented the charismatic movement. It took them 1,000 years to come up with TBN. This has nothing to do with TBN or Benny Hinn. It has everything to do with God. Say with me, from here to there. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm moving from here to there. And if you're hiding down a Lodabar, you need to be going, look over here. You need to come out of the fig leaf thing. Come out and go, I'm naked, but I'm your friend. Real naked, not laugh. You'll get it in a minute. I'm sorry, I've just gone over into my own. Okay. I apologize. I told you if you came back this week, you could laugh. Remember that at that time you were separate from Christ, excluded from the citizenship of Israel, foreigners to the covenants of the promise, without hope and without God in the world. But now, say now, in Jesus Christ, you who were once far away, say far away, over here, who were far away have been brought near over there by the blood of Christ. You do understand that everything I've preached to you is summed up in the fact that when Jesus came from there to here, he came from there to here by his blood to take you from here to there. That he came down to move you into. That he came into your conditions, not necessarily to change your conditions, but to reposition you. And that you may be sitting there in a condition, but you're in a different position. That he moves you from here to there, and now it's up to you to change your mind. Quit looking at your condition. Abraham, considering not his own body, already dead. He didn't look at his condition, he listened to the promise. Am I making sense? The covenant reveals the promises of God, which puts you in a friendship. Friendship comes and gets you and puts you in a different position. Man, this is good. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm in covenant. I've already gone over time. I apologize. But it's hot out there and it's cool in here. So I'm gonna take another 5 minutes. Matthew chapter 26, Jesus got up from the upper room, walked to the Garden of Gethsemane. He brought them here. He said, you stay here. And he took Peter, James, and John, and they went a little further. Say a little further. Can I go a little further? Most of them stayed here, Bruce, but Peter, James, and John. Why Peter, James, and John? Why not Jack, Jill, and Harry? But Peter, James, and John. My brain, yeah. And he came over to here, say over here. And he looked at him and said, you stay here while I go over there. You need to understand something. God will take friends a little closer. Peter, James, and John. Peter means solid, unshakable, unmovable, rock, law. The law was written in a stone. The word, the name James means Jacob, the one that was the surplanter, the manipulator, had to change his name. Say law. Say change. Jonathan means love. Man, in that garden, it moved from law to love. We're taking Peter, James, and John because they're a metaphor of friends who know how to change from the law to love. He said, you stay here, I'll go over there. Do you understand that in proximity, I've stood there, it isn't 20 feet. They're over here asleep, but he's over here sweating blood. And what he does over here is going to take you from here to there. Because when he gets done with there, he's going to go to that cross, and for a moment you're going to scatter, but he's going to meet you back in the room. I've moved from here to there because of his blood. I am not staying here no more. I'm not staying in that depression. I'm not staying in that death. I'm not staying in that sickness. I'm not staying in that anxiety. I'm not staying in that religious hole. I'm not staying under there. He brought me here so he could take me there. So this week, when you begin to shift down into that muck and that mire, you ought to jump up and say, no, no, no. I'm not staying here. I'm going there. No, 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 no. I'm not staying in the flesh. I'm going in the spirit. No, 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 no. I'm not staying here. I'm going over there. Did anybody get anything? How many want to live in that kind of friendship? Okay. Say an uncomfortable yes. Say uncomfortable. If you're going to have real friends, there are going to be moments it's uncomfortable. And you're going to say yes anyway. Terry and I are friends. Bruce and I are friends. Dale and I are friends. Garland and I are friends. There's been moments I've had to look at them and say an uncomfortable yes. Uncomfortably. This doesn't always feel comfortable. The other thing you're going to have to do is have an uncommon commitment. I'm not just talking about normal commitment. I'm talking about an uncommon commitment. I went to Tennessee because of a friend this week. Listen, I've done stuff for that movie. It's uncommon. An uncomfortable yes, an uncommon commitment, and an unyielding faith. If you're going to live in a friendship that reveals the covenant power of God, it'll be an uncomfortable yes, an uncommon commitment, and an unyielding faith. The older I get, friends are more important than anything in my life. Friends make known the covenants, the promises, the faith. Say with me, from here to there. Lord, I pray this morning that I've just done a little bit to move us from here to there. Lord, I pray that there would be David and Jonathans in this room, and that because of their covenant with one another, it would change the world. Because of their covenant with one another, it would alter the lives of their children, their children's children, and the community in which they live. Lord, may we here at the Father's house make up our mind that we're going to live covenant. Say uncomfortable yeses and common commitments and unyielding faith. Some of you have not said yes to Jesus because it feels uncomfortable. I'm asking with all my heart this morning, just say yes to Jesus.